If the truth you uncovered could shake the foundations of the world, would you still dare to reveal it? Tonight, one decision could either save humanity or destroy everything we've ever believed in. Previously, on this journey of hidden truths, Keanu Reeves uncovered the existence of a shadowy figure known only as the Watcher. A silent guardian, or a silent threat. But what Keanu didn't know is that the Watcher was merely the beginning. Tonight, under the ancient streets of Rome, the real power will reveal itself. And the choice Keanu must make could change everything. Stay with us, because tonight, the truth won't stay hidden anymore. Welcome back to Motivation for Success, the place where hidden truths and courageous hearts meet. Today, we continue a journey that few have dared to walk. A journey that began with whispers, deepened into secrets, and now leads straight into the heart of power itself. Stay with us until the end, because sometimes, standing alone against the darkness is the greatest triumph of all. Rome at midnight was veiled in mist, the ancient city transformed into a dreamscape of shadows and secrets. Streetlights created hazy halos in the fog as Keanu Reeves stood before an unmarked door tucked into a crumbling alleyway. The weathered wooden surface bore no distinguishing features, yet Keanu knew this door was different, a threshold between worlds. In his hand, he held a note that had appeared mysteriously in his hotel room, "Come alone. Midnight. Beneath the city where the forgotten sleep." No signature. No explanation. Just a command disguised as an invitation. His publicist had begged him to maintain his schedule. His security team had warned against venturing out alone. His friends had expressed concern about the changes they'd noticed in him since his first encounter with the Watcher. But tonight, there would be no entourage. No cameras. Only Keanu and the weight of destiny pressing upon his shoulders. As the midnight hour struck, he pressed his palm against the ancient wood. The door yielded with surprising ease, swinging inward to reveal a narrow spiral staircase descending into darkness. The steps were worn smooth in their centers, evidence of centuries of use by unknown feet. Would you walk down those steps knowing you might never walk back out? Keanu slipped the note into his jacket pocket and began his descent. The door closed behind him of its own accord, the soft click of its latch echoing in the spiral chamber like the ceiling of a tomb. The staircase wound downward in a perfect spiral, each step taking him deeper below the eternal city. The air grew colder, heavy with the scent of age, of stone and earth and time immemorial. His flashlight cast dancing shadows on the curved walls, illuminating occasional carvings in languages long forgotten. The descent seemed endless, as though he were traveling not just beneath the city but through time itself, each step carrying him further from the modern world and closer to something primordial, something that existed before recorded history began. After what seemed an eternity of descent, the staircase opened into a vast underground chamber that stole his breath away. Not a cellar or meeting room, but a necropolis, an ancient burial chamber predating Rome itself. Columns carved from living rock supported a ceiling lost in shadow, while sarcophagi lined the walls, their stone faces worn smooth by millennia. The chamber was dimly lit by actual torches set in wall sconces, their flames casting a warm, flickering glow across the space. And at its center, arranged in a perfect circle, sat 12 figures in hooded cloaks of deepest crimson. The sight of them sent a chill down Keanu's spine, yet he felt no urge to flee. Rather, there was a strange sense of homecoming, as though some part of him had been expecting this meeting since the moment of his birth. Keanu approached the circle with measured steps, his footfalls echoing in the cavernous space. The 12 figures remained motionless, their faces hidden within their hoods, creating the unsettling impression of faceless sentinels guarding ancient knowledge. As he drew nearer, he noticed the floor beneath the circle was intricately inlaid with a mosaic depicting celestial bodies in configurations unknown to modern astronomy. Stars and planets arranged in patterns that spoke of a different understanding of the cosmos, of knowledge that predated current scientific thought by millennia. At the precise center stood a simple stone chair, currently empty, facing the 12 hooded figures. The implication was clear: the chair was meant for him. With a deep breath that seemed to draw courage from the very stones around him, Keanu took his place at the center of the circle, feeling the weight of 24 hidden eyes upon him. The silence stretched, broken only by the occasional crackle of torch flame and the barely perceptible sound of ancient fabric shifting as the hooded figures breathed in unison, like a single organism with 12 bodies. Then, one figure spoke. The voice emerged like gravel being crushed, raspy, ancient, with undertones that seemed almost inhuman in their depth and resonance. "You stand before the Council of 12, the voice announced. "We who have watched from the shadows since before the founding of this city. We who have guided and guarded the flow of human history from beneath its surface." The words seemed to hang in the air, almost visible in their power. Another voice, feminine but no less ancient, continued, "You were never meant to find the Watcher. That path was hidden, protected. And yet you walked it nonetheless." The accusation was clear, yet there was also a note of something else, perhaps respect, perhaps curiosity. A third voice, clear and precise like the toll of a crystal bell, completed the introduction. "Now you must understand that the world as you know it is a fragile illusion, a construct maintained for the protection of those who dwell within it. What you perceive as reality is but the thinnest of veils drawn over truths that would shatter the minds of most who encountered them." When Keanu finally spoke, his voice carried quiet strength and genuine conviction. "Truth doesn't break the world. It only breaks illusions." His words hung in the air, simple yet profound in their implication. A challenge, perhaps, to these self-appointed guardians of secrets. Or perhaps an affirmation of his readiness to bear whatever knowledge they might impart. His voice did not tremble, though his heart raced within his chest. Something about this place, about these figures, resonated with memories that were not his own, with knowledge buried so deep within him that he had never known it existed until this moment. The circle remained silent for a long moment, as if weighing his worth, measuring his courage against some ancient standard. Then, the figure directly opposite him stirred. From beneath a crimson hood emerged a hand, ancient, the skin like parchment stretched over bone, marked with spots and veins that mapped centuries rather than decades. The aged hand held forth a small cylindrical case of what appeared to be silver, intricately engraved with symbols similar to those Keanu had first encountered on the robes of the hooded Watcher. Symbols that spoke of forgotten languages, of civilizations that had risen and fallen before the birth of written history. At the center of the case's lid was an embossed symbol, a triangle intersected by 3 curved lines, forming a pattern that seemed to shift and move when viewed from different angles, as though it existed in more dimensions than the merely physical. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. The symbol was identical to the one on the pendant his mother had given him as a child, the pendant he had always assumed was simply a family heirloom. He had worn it until her death, after which he had carefully preserved it among his most treasured possessions, never understanding its true significance until this moment of recognition. "You recognize this mark," the hooded figure stated. It was not a question but a confirmation of what they had suspected. "My mother gave me a pendant with this symbol," Keanu admitted, his voice barely above a whisper as memories of her flooded back, tinged now with new questions, new possibilities. "Before she died, she told me it would protect me. I always thought it was just something to comfort a child." The pendant had been warm against his skin throughout his childhood, a constant reminder of his mother's love. Now, he wondered what else it might have been, what purpose it had served beyond the sentimental. A soft, collective murmur passed through the hooded figures, like wind through autumn leaves. The sound was not made of words, yet it conveyed meaning, shared understanding passing between them at a level beyond verbal communication. "Nothing is just anything," spoke the figure holding the case, voice resonating with the wisdom of ages. Your mother knew more than she could safely tell you. Your lineage, Keanu Reeves, is not what you believe it to be. The blood that flows in your veins carries memories older than civilization itself, encoded knowledge passed down through generations, protected by silence and secrecy. With deliberate slowness, as though performing a ritual that had remained unchanged for millennia, the figure removed the lid from the case, revealing a rolled parchment sealed with dark red wax bearing the same triangular symbol. The parchment appeared ancient, yet perfectly preserved, as though time itself had been forbidden to touch it. The sight of it awakened something within Keanu, a hunger for knowledge, for truth, that transcended rational thought. Your bloodline is one of the sentinel lines, families chosen centuries ago to carry certain knowledge within their very blood, to preserve it should all written records be destroyed. Your ancestor was among the founders of our order, sworn to protect what must remain hidden from those who would misuse it. The words fell like stones into a still pond, sending ripples through Keanu's understanding of himself, his past, his very identity. Everything he had believed about his origins was being rewritten in this underground chamber, yet somehow, the new narrative felt more true than what he had always accepted. Another figure continued, voice like silk sliding over steel, the knowledge was fractured, distributed among the lines, with no single family possessing the complete truth. A safeguard against corruption or coercion. But the lines were hunted, decimated through the ages by those seeking to either expose or exploit what we protect. Images flashed in Keanu's mind as the voice spoke, visions of persecution, of families fleeing in the night, of knowledge passed in whispers from parent to child, of symbols hidden in plain sight within works of art, literature, architecture, waiting for those with eyes to see. Your mother's branch of the line was thought lost during the persecutions of the 17th century, when those who feared what we protected sought to eradicate all traces of the ancient knowledge. When we discovered her existence, she was already carrying you. Rather than bring her into the fold immediately, we chose to watch from afar, to see if the inherited sensitivity to the hidden world would manifest in her child. There was something almost like tenderness in this admission, suggesting that the council had been present in Keanu's life far longer than he had realized, silent guardians watching over a child of the line. Keanu struggled to process what he was hearing, yet the words resonated with truth at a level deeper than conscious thought. It explained the strange dreams that had plagued him since childhood, dreams of places he had never visited, of events he could not have witnessed. It explained the inexplicable sensations he sometimes experienced in places of ancient power, the whispers he occasionally heard at the edge of perception. And it explained his seemingly instinctive recognition of the hooded watcher when their paths had first crossed, a recognition born not of sight but of blood memory. "What is in the parchment?" Keanu asked, his eyes fixed on the sealed document that seemed to call to him, to promise answers to questions he had never known to ask. The air around the parchment shimmered slightly, as though reality itself thinned in its presence. "The portion of knowledge entrusted to your line," replied the figure, voice solemn with the weight of revelation. "A piece of the greater puzzle that, if combined with the knowledge held by the other lines, would reveal the complete truth about the foundations of human civilization and the forces that have shaped it from the shadows. Knowledge that could elevate humanity to heights undreamed of, or plunge it into depths of chaos from which it might never emerge." The atmosphere in the chamber shifted, became heavier, charged with the gravity of what was about to be proposed. The very air seemed to press against Keanu's skin, as though the weight of centuries had become tangible in this moment of decision. The hooded figure placed the case containing the sealed parchment on a small stone pedestal that had risen from the mosaic floor without visible mechanism or sound, its surface perfectly aligned with the celestial patterns in the floor mosaic. "You must choose, Keanu Reeves," intoned the gravelly voice that had first addressed him, each word falling like a judgment. "The path divides before you, and your decision will echo through generations to come, shaping the course of future events in ways even we cannot fully predict." Another voice continued, this one resonant with authority, join us, claim your hereditary place among the guardians, and help us protect the fragile balance of the world above. Take your mother's seat on the council and learn the full extent of what we safeguard, the true nature of reality that lies beneath the comforting illusions most of humanity accepts without question. A third voice, sharper than the others, completed the proposition, cutting through the air like a blade, or defy us. Take the knowledge contained in that parchment and reveal it to a world unprepared to receive it. But know that in doing so, you would unleash forces beyond your comprehension, forces that would transform the ordered world into chaos faster than you can imagine. The veils that separate realities would thin, allowing passage to entities whose very existence would shatter the fragile consensus of human understanding. The weight of centuries pressed upon Keanu's shoulders as he contemplated their words, the magnitude of the choice before him. Outside this chamber, beyond the ancient door at the top of the spiral staircase, millions of souls rested peacefully in the embrace of ignorance, people living ordinary lives, untouched by the secrets buried beneath their feet. People who woke each morning believing they understood the nature of their world, the limits of possibility, the boundaries of reality. In his mind's eye, Keanu saw flashes of what might follow a revelation of the magnitude they described: emergency news bulletins interrupting regular programming worldwide, social media exploding with theories and counter-theories spreading at the speed of light, religious authorities scrambling to reconcile ancient doctrines with newly revealed truths that undermine centuries of teaching. He saw governments deploying military forces to secure sites of hidden power, violence erupting in streets across the globe as different factions formed around interpretations of the revelation, each claiming to understand its true significance. And behind it all, perhaps, forces awakening from long dormancy, drawn to the surface by the disturbance in the carefully maintained equilibrium that had kept them at bay for millennia. Why reveal this to me now? Keanu asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. If the knowledge is so dangerous, why risk bringing me here at all? Why not continue watching from afar, maintaining the secrecy that has protected these truths for so long? The questions were not meant to challenge but to understand, to grasp the full context of the moment in which he found himself. The figure opposite him leaned forward slightly, the movement causing the hood to shift, revealing a glimpse of eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Because the equilibrium is already disturbed. Your encounter with the Watcher was not chance but catalyst, the first tremor of a coming earthquake. Events have been set in motion that cannot be undone, forces awakened that cannot be lulled back to sleep. The only question remaining is whether you will help us contain what follows, or if you will become the instrument of unveiling. The words carried the weight of prophecy, of inevitability, suggesting that what had begun could not be stopped but might perhaps be guided, channeled into paths less destructive. Keanu rose from the stone chair and approached the pedestal holding the sealed parchment. He could feel its age, its significance radiating outward like heat from a flame. The wax seal seemed to pulse with its own inner light, calling to something within his blood, awakening instincts and knowledge buried beneath layers of ordinary existence. The chamber around him seemed to hold its breath, 12 hooded figures utterly still, waiting to witness the outcome of centuries of protection and preparation. In this moment of profound silence, Keanu's thoughts weren't of himself or even of the council surrounding him. Instead, his mind filled with images of ordinary people going about their lives in the world above, children playing in sunlit parks, their laughter carrying on the breeze, innocent of the forces that shaped their world. Mothers lighting candles in tiny chapels, whispering prayers for their families, finding comfort in beliefs that might be shattered by the truths contained in the parchment before him. Artists in small studios, capturing beauty on canvas, unaware of the ancient patterns guiding their hands, patterns that had been directing human creativity since the first cave paintings emerged in fire-lit darkness. He thought of the delicate web of beliefs, traditions, and assumptions that gave structure to human existence. The narratives that people clung to in times of darkness, that provided comfort in the face of life's uncertainties, that gave meaning to suffering and purpose to joy. Stories passed down through generations, evolving yet maintaining their essential power to inspire and guide. Would the truth strengthen these narratives or shatter them beyond repair? Would it liberate humanity or traumatize it? Would it unite people in shared understanding or divide them further into those who could accept the revelation and those who would reject it at any cost? The questions had no simple answers, no clear path forward that guaranteed the preservation of what was valuable in human civilization while still honoring the truth that lay hidden. Keanu reached for the sealed parchment, feeling its weight, physical and metaphysical, as he lifted it from the pedestal. The wax seal seemed to warm to his touch, recognizing the blood of its intended recipient after centuries of waiting, responding to the hereditary right that flowed in his veins. The parchment itself felt alive somehow, humming with contained knowledge, with truths too powerful to be spoken aloud in a world unprepared to hear them. For a heartbeat, Keanu was tempted to break the seal. To know the truth, whatever the cost. The desire to know, to understand, burned within him with unexpected intensity. The knowledge was his birthright, after all, a heritage kept from him for decades. His fingers traced the edges of the wax seal, feeling it warm to his touch as if recognizing his bloodline after centuries of waiting. What secrets would unfold if he broke it open right here, right now? What power might he gain? What understanding of himself and the world might finally snap into place? The temptation was almost overwhelming, a hunger for knowledge that transcended reason, that spoke to something primal within him. Instead, he spoke, his voice low but unwavering in the hushed chamber, words emerging from a place of wisdom he hadn't known he possessed. The truth deserves light. But the world deserves mercy. The simple statement hung in the air, a philosophy distilled to its essence, a middle path between concealment and revelation. He placed the parchment back on the stone pedestal, not breaking its seal, but not surrendering it to the council either. A middle path, perhaps, or merely a postponement of the inevitable choice. The future remained unwritten, the final decision unmade, but the moment of crisis had passed, at least for now. I will neither join you nor expose you, he continued, standing straight before the council, no longer awed by their presence but meeting them as an equal, a son of the line claiming his place in the ancient dialogue. Not today. I need time to understand what I've learned about myself, about my mother's legacy. Time to determine if your guardianship is truly in humanity's best interest, or if it serves another purpose entirely. The challenge was clear but respectful, acknowledging their centuries of service while reserving judgment on their methods and motivations. He stepped back from the pedestal, his decision made. The parchment remains sealed, for now. Consider it my acknowledgement of the gravity of this knowledge. But know that I reserve the right to return for it when I'm ready to bear its burden, whatever that may be. The declaration was not a surrender but a claiming of agency, of the right to choose his own path forward rather than accepting either of the options the council had presented. Without waiting for their response, Keanu turned and began walking toward the staircase that would lead him back to the world above. His footsteps echoed in the vast chamber, marking the rhythm of his departure, steady and purposeful. The council made no move to stop him, offered no further arguments or threats. They remained in their circle, 12 hooded figures watching as he crossed the mosaic floor and reached the foot of the spiral staircase. Only when he had nearly disappeared from view did a single voice, different from any that had spoken before, melodious yet ancient beyond reckoning, float up from the chamber below. The blood remembers what the mind forgets, son of the line. You will return. The words were not a threat but a statement of fact, an acknowledgement of the bond that existed between Keanu and the knowledge he had temporarily rejected, a bond that would draw him back when the time was right. The spiral staircase seemed longer on the ascent, as though the distance between worlds had stretched during his time in the council's chamber. By the time Keanu reached the door at the top, his legs ached and his mind reeled with the implications of what he had learned, with the transformation of his understanding of himself and his place in the world. He pushed against the ancient wood, and the door swung outward silently. The Roman night had transformed during his absence underground. The mist had dissipated, and the first hint of dawn painted the eastern sky with tentative brushstrokes of pink and gold, a new day emerging from the darkness, full of possibility and choice. Keanu stepped into the alleyway, feeling the cool morning air against his face like a benediction. After the weighted atmosphere of the underground chamber, the ordinary world seemed almost painfully vibrant, colors more intense, sounds more distinct, as if his senses had been recalibrated during his time below, awakened to perceptions previously beyond his reach. As he turned to walk away, a soft whisper brushed against his ear, though the alleyway was empty of any visible presence, "The Watcher is not the end, it was only the beginning." The words seemed to form directly within his mind, bypassing his ears entirely, a communication that transcended physical limitations. Keanu froze, scanning his surroundings. Nothing moved in the pre-dawn stillness. Yet the voice had been unmistakable, not originating from outside but from within, or perhaps from a place that was neither external nor internal but somewhere beyond the conventional boundaries of experience. A chill ran down his spine as he realized the implication: whatever connection had been established between himself and the hidden world, whether through his bloodline or his encounter with the Watcher, it had opened channels of communication that transcended normal human experience. He was changed, fundamentally and irrevocably, by what he had learned beneath Rome's ancient streets. He raised his eyes to the lightning sky above Rome's ancient skyline. The last stars were fading, retreating before the advance of day. Yet Keanu couldn't shake the sensation that something was observing him from that vast expanse, not with malice, perhaps, but with intense interest, with ancient patience, with expectations that spanned centuries rather than moments. Some battles are not fought with fists or weapons but with faith, faith in oneself, in humanity's capacity to grow, to adapt, to embrace truths that reshape understanding without surrendering hope. The path ahead was unclear, the destination unknown, but Keanu felt a sense of purpose that transcended the uncertainty, a calling that resonated with his very being. In the days following his encounter beneath Rome, Keanu returned to his public life, interviews, film sets, the choreographed dance of celebrity. To outside observers, nothing had changed. He maintained the same thoughtful demeanor, the same measured responses to questions, the same gentle interactions with fans. But inwardly, everything had shifted. He viewed the world through new eyes now, recognizing patterns and connections that had always been present but previously invisible to him. Ancient symbols hidden in plain sight in architecture and art, subtle references in literature and music to truths carefully veiled behind metaphor and allegory, the delicate fingerprints of guardianship pressed into the clay of human history. 3 weeks after Rome, Keanu returned to his Vancouver home to find a package waiting. No postmark, no return address, simply a small box placed in the center of his kitchen table inside his supposedly secure residence, a reminder that the forces he had encountered recognized no conventional boundaries. Inside lay his mother's pendant, the triangle intersected by 3 curved lines, exactly matching the seal on the parchment beneath Rome. A note accompanied it, written in his mother's unmistakable handwriting: "When you are ready to remember what I could not tell you, we're this close to your heart. Some truths can only be whispered from blood to blood." The date on the note was 3 days before her death, nearly 2 decades earlier, suggesting that she had known what was coming, had prepared for it, had left this final message as a bridge between past and future. With trembling hands, Keanu placed the pendant around his neck, feeling its weight against his chest like a small stone. The metal warmed instantly to his body temperature, and for a brief moment, he thought he felt a pulse within it, syncing with his own heartbeat, the ancient knowledge awakening in response to the blood of the line. Whatever lay ahead, whatever confrontations with the council, whatever deeper revelations about the forces shaping human destiny, Keanu Reeves would face them not as a reluctant participant but as an active agent in humanity's ongoing evolution. Not alone against the darkness, but as a bridge between worlds, between knowing and becoming. And in that role, perhaps, lay the greatest triumph of all, the fulfillment of a destiny written in blood and protected through centuries of silence and sacrifice. The path forward would not be easy, but it would be his own, chosen rather than imposed, a journey of discovery that honored both truth and mercy. Would you have made the same choice as Keanu? Comment below. 1. Reveal the truth, or 2. Protect the world. We're waiting to hear your answer. Because at Motivation for Success, every story is a light, waiting to guide someone home.